Today, our group will present about Ebola disease. Ebola virus disease is a rare and deadly disease in people and non-human primates. It is outbreak primarily on the African continent during 1976 and 2014 to 2015. Ebola is a ribonucleic acid or RNA virus. Viral particles contain one molecule of single-strand RNA enveloped in a lipid membrane. Viruses require hosts. They take over living cells and force the affected cells to reproduce virus. Ebola is neither prokaryotic or eukaryotic. Prokaryote is a cell or organism without any organelles, while eukaryotes have organelles. Viruses are some things entirely different. Viruses are not classified as a living organism as during part of their cycle. They do not fit the definition of a living organism. Viruses are not typically considered to be organisms because they are incapable reproduction, growth, or metabolism. Although viruses have a few enzymes and molecular characteristics of living organisms, they have no metabolism of their own. They cannot synthesize an organism the organic compounds of which they are formed.
The life cycle of Ebola virus first begins with the enveloped virus outside of a cell or a host. When it finds a host, the virus gets inside. This usually occurs at nose or mouth. Second, it requires two host proteins to process the glycoproteins. The virus needs glycoprotein in order to be released from the vesicle that transported it into the cell. It causes the membranes of the vesicle and the virus to fuse together. Once this fusion occurs, the ribonucleocapsids are released from the vesicle. Third, the negative single-stranded RNA of the Ebola virus is transcribed into strands of viral mRNA, which are pieces of RNA that contains the directions for producing more viral RNA and its associated proteins. After the viral mRNA is finished being transcribed, it moves through the cytoplasm to the nucleus of the cell. Fourth, the polymerase, along with the replication mechanisms of the host cell, begins replication of the virus. The products of this replication are multiple strands of negative single-stranded RNA. Lastly, the nucleocapsid surrounding the virus interacts with the budding mechanisms of the cell. This interaction allows the encapsulated virus to be released by budding off from the cell membrane. At this point, it now becomes a new extracellular virion and the cycle starts over.
The exact cause of Ebola virus is unknown, but scientists believe that it is most likely come from bats, which transmits the Ebola virus to other animals and humans. A person can spread the virus to other people. It is caused by an infection with a group of viruses within a genus Ebola virus. There are 5 virus species has been identified, 4 of which are known to cause disease in humans, which are Ebola virus, Sudan virus, Thai forest virus, and Bactibaccio virus. And the 5th species, which is Reston virus, has not caused disease in humans but has effect on human primates, such as monkeys, gorillas, and chimpanzees, and also pigs.
Ebola virus was first described by Dr. Peter Piot and his colleagues in 1976 near the Ebola River, which gave the virus its name. That location is in what is now the Democratic Republic of Congo. Since then, the virus has emerged periodically and infected people in several African countries. How long has Ebola traveled around the world? It had been 44 years now since humanity discovered Ebola. Yet, viral and epidemiologic data suggest that Ebola virus existed long before these recorded outbreaks occurred. Factors like population growth, encroachment into forested areas, and direct interaction with wildlife may have contributed to the spread of Ebola virus. What about our change in knowledge to this virus throughout history? Scientists later discovered that the 2 outbreaks were caused by 2 genetically distinct viruses. First is Sudan Ebola virus, and second is Zaire Ebola virus. Chronologically, there are 5 individual species of Ebola virus discovered in different years. The overwhelming majority of outbreaks have been due to the first 2, which emerged within several months of each other in the neighboring country of Sudan and Zaire. The resident Ebola virus is the only Ebola species to be non-pathologic to humans. It is also the only Ebola species not pandemic in Africa, but shows up in Philippines. Typhus Ebola virus, known to have infected just a single individual in history. Finally, the Pim Bogie Ebola virus emerged in Uganda in 2007 and have been responsible for 2 more of outbreaks.
Next, epidemiology. The first case occurred in a rural village in Guinea, sparking the largest Ebola outbreak the world has ever known. The outbreak primarily involved 3 countries in Western Africa: Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone. Mortality rate of Ebola virus can reach 90%. New outbreak Ebola virus is occurring in the Wangada Hill Zone in Republic of Congo. On the 1st June 2020, 11 outbreaks in Mbandaka, Equatorial Province. They have 6 cases, 3 confirmed and 3 probable. And the result, they have 2 people alive from all of them. What type of disease? Ebola is contagious. Ebola is a communicable disease, meaning that it spreads from one person to another through a variety of ways via the next slide. Transmission. The virus spreads through the direct contact. Then when you contact with infected animal, human, medical instrument, blood or body tissue, fruit or bush meat, and dead body, you will be infected and also unprotected sex with an infected person. Next, you can get Ebola through water, air, food. The risks depending on age and gender. As shown in the graph, people in the age group of 30 and over have affected by the virus more than others. Men will have more risk during the age of 2 and above 30, but for the women, they will have less risk at lower age. With the greatest risks posed to the medical worker and friends or relatives of the victim and anyone who has traveled to an area with Ebola outbreak. Pathogen. And as the virus spread, it invades the lymph nodes and the vital proteins such as kidney and liver, causing them to lose function. The virus isn't an outbreak killing you, but it is your own immune system. What happens in immune system? Let's find the answer in next slide. The normal job of the immune system is to eliminate infection. Instead, the mounting cell death triggers an immune system overload or out of control. Boom! Then it will become damaging to the host known as cytokine storm. And it damages the blood vessel, both internal and external bleeding. The main symptoms usually start appearing from 2 days to 3 weeks after affected. Do you know 50 to 90% of victims die within 10 days? It shows symptoms like high temperature, sore throat, headache, and stomach pain, but quickly escalate to vomiting, sometimes with blood, lashes over the entire body, diarrhea.
And these are the ways that we can do to be safe from Ebola. First, avoiding direct or unprotected contact like blood, urine, feces, vomit, or other else. Next, be aware with your symptoms when you know that there is a risk. Third, cleaning frequently, hand washing with soap and water, and alcohol-based hand sanitizer should be used when soap and water are not available. And next, vaccination. Here are investigational Ebola virus vaccines that are being used under specific circumstances for outbreak control. And the other way that we can do is avoiding contact animals that spread Ebola to people, like sheep, chimpanzee, gorilla, or monkeys. And the last one is avoiding all potential places or activities that could result in exposure. The treatment part
There is no currently specific Ebola treatment yet, in which some people have survived Ebola and are understood to be immune from having been infected, but how long this immunity cannot be determined, and there is no vaccine against Ebola, although there are currently 2 effective vaccines tested. Also, the treatment of Ebola focuses on symptomatic care, and there are 2 treatments that were used during the Ebola outbreak in 2014. First, the plasma of the survivor by Ebola being transferred to the patients, helping the survivor from being transferred to many survivors in the hope that the survivor will help fight the infection. The virus in those infected people have been given in a timely manner to undergo plasma transfer and survive. Of course, the winner will be safe from fighting for the talent and successful in fighting for the world. And the another one is the drug is a combination of 3 monoclonal antibodies. 2 American survivors of CMAP were treated with a drug called CMAP. It was developed by MAP Biopharmaceutical, which contained the protein of the CMAP virus but has not tested with humans as safe and with only a handful of drugs remaining. Recommendation of what we should do or don't to be safe. First, these are what we should avoid. 1. Contact with blood and body fluid of persons who are ill. 2. Items that may have come in contact with an infected person's blood. Third, contact with the raw meat and unknown source. This is what we should do. First, avoid areas in which infection have been reported. Second, avoid direct contact with infected people. Third, familiarize yourself with Ebola symptoms.
This is all for Ebola virus. Thank you for watching.